So I'm sitting up a few weeks ago at night, getting ready for bed. I'm reading myself some Sherlock Holmes, which is a custom. I'm either reading Sherlock Holmes, The Odyssey, or Dante, or something like that to get ready for bed. And I get a text message, right? It's from a number that's not listed in my phone. I open it up and I read the text, and it says, "Hey buddy, how's it going?" And I thought to myself, I really don't have a lot of friends that refer to me as buddy. I don't know if it's a regional thing. And so I told the individual, look, I'm really sorry. I don't have your name loaded in my phone. And I got the weirdest text in response, maybe that I've ever gotten. But it said something along the lines of, "It's your old friend, Satan." And I thought, it ain't any of my Sacred Heart friends. That's for sure. It's nobody from the Kids Academy, okay? Not anybody that's kind of floating in my orbit right now. None of those people would contact me. It's not Tim Flanders or Atticus from over at Ancient Thought. It's none of them, so I had no clue who this person was. And very quickly, it didn't take long before there was a follow-up text message, and I should have known it. I did. I should have known when the person said it was Satan. I should have known it was this person, but it was David Smalley. It was David Smalley of Dogma Debate fame. But the thing is that we haven't talked in a long time. And come to find out, he recently became aware of the fact that I returned to the church. And he had no clue. Apparently he wasn't stalking me on Twitter, okay? I haven't been hiding under a bushel, right? I've been making some videos. I've been making some podcasts. I've been tweeting stuff out. There's a whole bunch of pictures online. You can see us at the church, my kids at the school. I even made a commercial for the podcast talking about sending my kids to Catholic school and everything like that. So it's not like I've been hiding it. So he obviously hasn't been following my work. And I can't blame him because he's a rather popular guy, pretty busy dude, traveling around, doing different speaking engagements, engaged in comedy. He's got his podcast. He's all over the place. And he's out in LA, right? So he's kind of living that fancy pant lifestyle. But somebody made him aware of the fact that I've returned and my family has returned back to the faith. And we kind of got in this little bit of a conversation about it. And it didn't take long. And I knew this was coming, okay? It didn't take long before he admitted, he said, "Look, I think you know why I'm contacting you." And I'm thinking, yes, I do. I know that you want to talk to me. And I know you want to have me on your show because you want to debate this. You want to hear, not just debate. He's a good-hearted guy. He sincerely wants to know how I could have gone from what I was, working with Secular Media Group and everything else, and Paleo Radio and WPRR and Center for Inquiry and going to Reason Rally and all that stuff. How I could have gone from that to what I am now. Totally legit, okay? So no problem with that. And I anticipated not only that he was going to ask me, but I anticipated that I was going to say yes. But see, here's the deal. I actually don't want to talk about David Smalley. I've already talked about him way too much. Because what happened is that once it was over, he encouraged me to participate in his Patreon page. Okay, to go in and to engage with the people and everything else. And so I'm like, okay, well, how bad can it be? It's going to be a lot of fun. I can just hop in and people ask questions. And I didn't really anticipate that either. Because, these people are brutal, man. They are ruthless people. At first it was crazy. I saw like 14 comments and I was like kind of bummed out a little bit. And then the next morning I woke up, it was like 50-something. I'm like, holy moly, man. People were just going to town on it. And so I started scrolling through it. And I thought, man, O'Day, like, what's wrong with some of these people? David, what's happening with your people? I got to deal with some of this, man. Even weird stuff about Ben Shapiro. I got to deal with this, man. I can't just let some of this stuff fly. I have to draw a line, man. I have a decency level. You compare me to Ben Shapiro, man, it's going to end up making a video. So, if you trolled me out with that, if that's what that was all about, then you were successful. It wasn't just that I was compared to him. Am I sporting the yarmulke? Like, what's going on here, man? Okay, maybe, I don't know. I think he's like, 5'2" or 5'3" or something like that. I'm 5'7", so I'm not busting his chops too badly. I think he's shorter than me, I think. We're both short guys. We both have this kind of Napoleon complex. But the person was talking about my voice, Dave. My voice, saying I sound like Ben Shapiro. And I'm thinking, what is that guy smoking? You know what I mean? But I have to deal with it. And there's a whole bunch. And look, it's not just, I don't just want to focus on the cuckoo pants stuff. There's plenty of that. Okay, there's plenty of it. And I want to say this as a disclaimer, okay, to the people who I hope from his fan base who will watch this video, that I'm doing this out of love, okay? I'm doing this as a buddy. I'm doing it as a service, a friendly service, right? It's what I do. It's a ministry kind of thing for me. I hope that you realize that I'm actually having good fun with this, and that I'm very grateful that all of you listen to the show, especially if it was driving you crazy and you're like, I can't take it anymore. This guy's out of his mind, and the cognitive dissonance is thick with this one. That you went through it, you listened to it, and you commented. Because regardless of what any of you believe, I was genuinely putting my heart into that and my mind. But I want to go through these different comments. And look, because it's on Patreon, it's private. And so for the sake of their anonymity, I've decided to change their names a little bit. And so they're going to have to pay attention. Right? You're going to have to pay attention to find out if your comment made the cut. And some of you are repeat offenders, so you're going to be on here a number of times, but not everybody, right? So you got to pay attention. I want to start first, actually, with something that was nice, okay? It wasn't flattering, but it was pleasant, at least, and different in tone and content than a lot of the other ones. So I got to put it up here. I changed the person's name to Cat Dandy. Soul Cat Dandy said, Jeremiah is utterly fascinating. Either the man David used to know was a lie back then, or he's had the most radical transformation that I don't think can be adequately explained by the death of his daughter. And that's true. I have had a radical transformation. There's no question about it. It's dramatic, the difference. And there's some explaining to do, which is why it was legitimate for me to go on that show. And he also said later on, because he had some criticisms, Cat Dandy's name will come up, okay? And that's why I wanted to start out with Cat, okay? Because Cat said that after saying a whole bunch of other stuff, but says this also. To be fair, okay, he does have a few episodes of intellectual honesty. So the individual, it's already kind of giving you an idea, doesn't think I'm very intellectually honest. We're going to see. We're going to see how this all plays out. All right. There was a whole bunch of these comments about me having some kind of psychological problem, or an emotional problem. And look, I'm bipolar. I mean, I'm open about this. I'm a veteran. I'm a veteran at the VA. I have a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and a social worker. I have all different kinds of doctors that talk to me, and therapists and other people. And they've evaluated me for a long period of time. So they've seen me through different phases of my life. Right? I mean, some of these individuals remember when I had a lip ring and a nose ring and long hair and everything else. And they also know what I was like before that, when I was involved in the Latin Mass before. Because I didn't just become a Catholic. I was a Catholic before this. You have another person, Fat Biggs. Now, Biggs had a real issue with me, okay? Biggs said this, I am not okay with Jeremiah continuously calling himself a skeptic. And I thought, man, you sound really upset. I could just imagine the person is shaking. It's almost like that whole Play-Doh rolling, bubble blowing type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's just bizarre. I was drinking Founders KBS. I might have been a little bit loosey-goosey, but a skeptic? Maybe I was skeptical of things, but the idea that I identify now as a skeptic, I'm kind of confused by that. And maybe I blacked out. I must have blacked out, because I don't even know the last time that I ever identified as a skeptic, that was the phrase that I used about myself. But it's kind of like if I know people that identify as a free thinker. I never really did that. I was never like, I'm a free thinker. Like, to me, I thought it was a dumb thing. I think it's kind of like saying, I'm a libertarian. Like, I think the brand, regardless of the content, I think the brand and that word, I think it's garbage. But let me be like super duper clear. I'm a Catholic. And I'm not just any kind of Catholic. I'm this like full-blown papist guy. Right? I'm a Latin Mass loving, catechism studying, icon venerating, saint supplicating, douay reams reading, Roman Catholic man. That's just what it is. Look, I believe in hell. I believe in purgatory. I believe in limbo. I believe in relics and indulgences. And, as I said on the show, I believe in transubstantiation. Unquestionably. I do not doubt these things. I believe in them. And I can argue the case for them. So I don't want there to be any confusion. Brat K says, I'd be surprised but not shocked if Jeremiah came out as a flat earther in a few years. Oh my gosh. It's weird because I had a conversation with a friend of mine, Kennedy Hall. We're colleagues, fellow contributors over at meaningofcatholic.com. But anyway, Kennedy Hall, okay? Kennedy Hall, we get talking, and I told him, I said, look, I'm divided. When I became an unbeliever, I had already started to learn more about science. So to begin to understand that, when you're raised in a purely revelational context, to go from that where you delve into science, I said, I'm really grateful for that. And I don't know if, I guess you wouldn't be able to see it here, but I've got, Origin of Species and Descent of Man. I've got it right here. I've got The Social Conquest of Earth. I've got it right here. I've got a whole bunch of books. Back here, I've got a whole row of books about science. There's a couple books that are written by people who'd be young Earth creationists or intelligent design and stuff like that. But most of those are just run-of-the-mill modern science. That's just what they are. And it's something that I actually really like a lot. And I benefited a great deal from it, especially things to do with consilience and group selection and even evopsych and stuff like that draws it all together. That Moral Animal was a huge book in my life. So was Righteous Mind. Okay. So was Inner Ape. Franz de Waal. Right? Is it de Waal or de Waal? I don't. Either which way. And to this day, I look at the insights that they're able to derive from evolutionary theory, and I don't just toss that to the wind. There's a lot of that I believe. Oh yes, look at the predictive value of that. Those predictions are beneficial. Those predictions play out in our lives in a way that we relate to in a really deep-rooted level. I mean, to sit there and just say, well, I don't believe in it as a theory. I can't just toss that out. So I'm kind of in a weird place. And the idea that, I'm just going to believe in flat Earth, I mean, give me a break, man. I've watched like 250 hours of flat Earth material. I've watched it, man. I've watched Nibiru, okay? I've watched probably 200 plus hours of material about Nibiru. I study weird things, and I don't believe it, but I've studied it. I know what their arguments are. I've watched the NASA hoax videos. They're hard to find, by the way, anymore. Moving on, you've got Diaboli Machina, Latin, right? The devil machine. Said, I find Jeremiah's attitude about Trump to be indefensible and frankly, deeply reprehensible. I mean, this person was upset, right? Deeply, deeply reprehensible. And frankly, not just kind of bad. We're talking frankly, deeply reprehensible, man. I supposedly deflected and obfuscated. Fancy pants with his words. Look at this. This guy's using good words. Big words. He might be the best at words. Then he said this. Jeremiah's aboutism, right? This kind of like, well, what about that? Or what about this? It's a technique, right? My whataboutism and my general lack of grasp in basic facts and law were quite frankly nauseating. And then he put a cherry on the cake, right? He said that my views are rubbish and they're not worthy of contemplation. I'm kind of going over this. I'm thinking, is this dude like Mr. Belvedere? Is this guy like some British butler? You know, like the guy from Fresh Prince. What was that dude's name? You know, he's talking about indefensible, frankly, deeply reprehensible. His aboutism and general lack of grasp in basic facts in law were quite frankly nauseating. His views are rubbish and not worthy of contemplation. What? And there's that whole frankly again. I mean, what's up with that? And what's going on with all this weird language that secular people are using? It's rooted in a moral foundation of disgust, right? You have rubbish, nauseating, disgusting. I mean, that's right out of the moral foundation. So you've got the imagery, right? Almost sense when you think of rubbish. Right? It's gross. Right? It's like somebody holding up trash to your nose or something. Really emotive, kind of gut level things. And historically, look, that's actually been foreign to secular lefties. You know, then again, in fairness, secular people, their forefathers, were more like these kind of classical liberals and radical individualists, and not so much like these whole jihadis of the secular zeitgeist that's going on right now. You've got, I mean, they're militant at this point, right? Cuckoo pant crazies, Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, people use that phrase and stuff, but individuals are stabbing themselves in the guts now over this, shooting their family, what was it just recently? A dude shot his wife, shot the dog, shot the cat, then tweeted to Trump, National Rifle Association. I'm thinking, you're messed up, dude. This kind of crap going on, right? Diaboli Machina, it kind of lays out this whole host of problems. You know, Trump is responsible for orphaning kids, ripping off cancer charities, degrading veterans, even Gold Star POWs like John McCain. And I thought, man, dude, did you really support John McCain? And are you even a veteran? Because I am. And I didn't support John McCain. I know other veterans who didn't like John McCain, especially on the POW stuff. Right? Especially on Tokyo Rose. If you don't know what that is, go listen to it. And then he's caused a lot of issues for people who advocate for POWs, who have for years and years and years. And if you're unfamiliar with that, if you don't know the arguments, then to be brutally honest, you better shut up. You should. I'll say that kindly. You should keep your mouth shut. Just keep your mouth shut. And stop pretending and using the corpse of John McCain as if it meant anything to you at all. Did you vote for him? Or did you not vote for him because of Palin? Certainly that couldn't be the case. Because the next complaint you have is that Trump demeans and objectifies women. I mean, look, I'm a valiant guy. I believe in chivalry. I actually believe in that. At the same time, I have zero problem with playing tough with women who are in the news business or who are involved in politics or in entertainment who have a huge, massive million-person following. They're in the octagon. If you're saying objectifying women, talking about beauty and things like that, objective forms of beauty, is that what you're getting at? Right? That he had beauty contests, and that's bad. I'm not going to come against him on that. It's perfectly fine with me. I believe in that. I believe in the old catwalk. Fornicating with porn stars. It's weird. I will say this. It is weird to hear atheist people talk about fornicating. It's just true. You guys are licentious. You are licentious people. I know about your rallies. I know about your conferences. I know about the warnings that have had to be put up about all the rapey stuff going on. So give me a break. Conspiring with foreign leaders. Well, I see somebody watches a lot of Rachel Maddow. Who are you, man? Who are you? What the heck is this? You must do better than the shotgun blast of crap. But here's the thing. What really got under Diaboli's craw was the fact that I'm actually okay with human weakness in a president. And that I think that there's more wisdom in Machiavellian realism. This idea that says, yes, Somebody is not a perfect individual. Somebody's got huge flaws on a spectrum. And that there are certain things that I can say, yes, that is terribly sinful. And I may think that something is sinful, or I wouldn't act and behave that way. I wouldn't say certain things, and yet I would still not have a problem with that person being president. It sure is like better than this whole weird-ass political donatism that you've got going on. It's messed up. I was accused of making excuses on account of overarching political concerns. Yes. Yes, man. That's called politics. It literally is. I mean, I hate to bust your bubble on this, but we live in a real world. You know, and I wrote this down. I said the politics is more than the sum of a politician's personality and platform promises. Thank God for that. Because unlike Donald Trump, most candidates don't do very good with their platforms and promises. But this is especially true when we're dealing with civilizational strife. Study Spengler, man. Study Augustine. Study Samuel Huntington, Strauss, and Howe. You know, we're like way beyond the debate that says, well, what about this little policy over here and this little policy over here? We're like way beyond this. But we have a civilizational crisis where worldviews have departed, and they're so far apart that we've now lost the space between where there used to be some kind of way that we could talk and that we could deal. And that's why you have people, intelligent people who've studied histories of different civilizational crises like this, where you have a clash of worldviews, a clash of ascendant institutions and ones that are descending. And there's a crisis point that's taking place. We're right in the middle of that. That's why you have people calling it a cold civil war. I didn't pull it out of my rear. And I'm sorry, man, but I ain't going to play that whole whack-a-mole crap. I believe that we are currently experiencing a death spiral. Big time. And it's because of individuals like you. You're not just a discontent, you're a deconstructionist. And if anyone goes, hey, look, hey, you don't know this guy. You don't know what he believes about this. Look at what he says, the very next thing. This is why he's diaboli. This is why he's that. He says, quote, to me, Jeremiah's blind faith and devotion to Trump also serves, once more, to underscore the fact that religions present an inherent existential threat to a healthy, functioning society. That is cuckoo pants. That is ragingly bizarre. And frankly, I think you're a crazy person. Frankly, I think you're this New World Order fanatic. Only fanatics talk that way. That's beyond enthusiasm, man. Like you really are. You're beyond the realm of enthusiasm and just into full-throated fanaticism. And what is your precedent for this? It's all hypothetical, man. It's all abstract in my brain. Because you don't have any civilization to fall back on and say, that right there is a healthy society that's based on my values. No, you are so abstractly minded that you're no earthly good. You're a utopian. Which is why you come out just breathing fire on anyone who disagrees with you. And that's why you can say something so radically insane. Well, man, did the world just begin when you were born? Seriously, did the world just begin when you were born? Are you a solipsist, dude? Is reality in your brain? You opened your eyes and somehow it just all started? You've been around for a long time, man. These things that you're against, there's an argument to be made that those are evolutionary mechanisms. I said it on Twitter. I said Darwin's cathedral is filled with all sorts of these traditions. It's kind of weird how the species has survived, how we thrived so much, we reproduced so much, that we've created all of these things. that we're all over, that we have so many people, now we got to slow down. In spite of religion, that's a tough sell. That would be real tough. Cuckoo pants. Unscientific. Unscientific. I'm calling you out, Diabli. Nope. Now, I'm to the fun part. There were some reasonable objections. And I'm going to go through these. I don't want to spend forever on these. But there were some reasonable objections to this, right? To things that I said. And I encourage people, you have to go and check it out. You know, and I'm open to criticism too. There are times where I fumbled the football. So we're back to Cat Handy. Said this, he said, for most of the episode, I pegged Jeremiah as intellectually dishonest and a prime example of the tribalism tearing the fabric of this country apart. You know, on the plus side, Cat said that I reeled it back in. I reeled it back apparently so much later on in the program that Cat's actually looking forward to hearing more conversations with me. And by the way, I have a YouTube channel. I really hope you subscribe, because then you would actually hear what I have to say in long form. And you can judge for yourself on whether or not I'm being intellectually dishonest about this. But I was trying to figure out, what was it that I said that was intellectually dishonest or tribalism? And there were a number of examples. One of them had to do with the debate going on, you know, why wouldn't Trump submit to subpoenas, right, in the impeachment inquiry? Why wouldn't he allow certain people in the administration, why wouldn't he allow them to testify? And I had made the statement that the Supreme Court, a decision made by the Supreme Court and Ruth Bader Ginsburg in particular, that it really shot down one of the articles of the impeachment. I could have been a little bit more clear about this, and I should have. I'll admit this. I should have been a little bit more clear, because the RBG topic was actually to do with taxes. But see, here's the thing, is that Kat would have to talk to Alan Dershowitz on this, because Alan Dershowitz talked specifically about this topic and the relevance of this topic to the nature of the argument that was being had between the legislative branch and the executive branch. And that being, if the legislative branch subpoenas and if the executive branch says we don't believe that we need to abide by this because we have powers that are separate from you and this oversteps that there is a process by which you determine this. The Democrats didn't believe that. The Democrats are dictatorial. As Dershowitz said, that decision pulled the rug out of the principle that the Democrats were standing upon. That's a serious problem. And if you disagree, take it up with him. There was the whole issue of William Binney. In fact, Kat said the William Binney guy, right? Or that William Binney guy. Well, let's be fair about this, okay? William Binney is not just a guy, right? Kind of like I'm not just an atheist activist. That is one thing that I did, but I'm an award-winning person in political science, which is my minor, by the way. I have my major in journalism. I have my minor in political science. And I've won the top award at my school for that, my college for that. I won the top award for creative writing, some of that being politically influenced, in fact. I won 3 top awards at my college that I attended. Out of thousands of people. In 3 fields that weren't mine. That weren't even my major. And I won thousands of dollars because of this. And because I've worked as a chief aide to a lobbyist, listed at the time as like the 20th most powerful man in the state of New Jersey. Very powerful man. Worked every day, suit and tie briefcase guy in the Capitol in Trenton. I've hung out, I've been in Cory Booker's office. Way back in 2003? Not only that, Leadership Institute recognizes me in the top 30 conservative student activists in the country, flew me down to Washington, D.C. because of my activities on TV, on radio, and the blogosphere. Come on, man. William Binney dominates that. Way up there. According to WikiSpooks, William Binney spent 32 years at the NSA, where he rose to the senior technical director. He was widely regarded as a legend within the agency, managed thousands of NSA employees. Binney's whistleblower made a whole bunch of disclosures. Big time, massive domestic spying program, Stellar Wind, which intercepts domestic communications without protections for U.S. citizens. Unbelievable. You can watch a documentary about the guy. It's called A Good American. Kat said you need more than a single data point, because I brought up with William Binney, this guy, I said that talking about transfer speeds, and I could have been more specific. This is off the top of my head. I'm literally flying by the seat of my pants. You ought to give me a little bit of credit. Right? Maybe even a golf clap or something. I mean, come on now. I could have been more specific, and I'll be more specific now. Number one, he's not alone. He's part of a group called VIPs. Secondly, he has multiple points, and here's a couple. Number one, if the Russians actually had conducted an internet-based hack of the DNC computer network, then the evidence of the attack would have been collected and stored by the NSA. The NSA had an opportunity to make it clear that there was irrefutable proof of Russian meddling, particularly to do with the hack. But when the intelligence community assessment, you remember that thing, it's garbage. When that thing came out regarding Russian interference, they gave it moderate confidence. Unnecessary. Telling. That's the bigger point. It's telling that they had moderate confidence. Why moderate? They could have been fully confident. They have the mechanisms at their fingertips. Number two, Bill Binney and members of VIPs published a study back in 2017 showing that Guccifer 2.0, the online persona who first claimed responsibility for the DNC hack, was a fabrication. Their study was based on a metadata analysis of the documents. The metadata gave evidence that the files were downloaded at speeds consistent with, and in a manner consistent with, copying to a thumb drive or a storage device, not an internet hack. Bill Binney conducted a forensic examination of the metadata contained in the posted documents based on internet connection speeds in the United States. Okay? The analysis showed that the highest transfer rate was 49.1 megabytes per second. That's much faster than possible from a remote online connection. The 49.1 megabyte speed coincides with the download rate for a thumb drive. They extended the examination and ran various tests, these forensic tests from the Netherlands, Albania, Belgrade, and the UK. The fastest rate that they got was from a data center in New Jersey to a data center in the UK, and it was 12 megabytes per second, which is less than a fourth of the rate necessary to transfer the data as it was listed by Guccifer 2.0. That's huge. That's huge. We could go on and on and on. And he talks about an examination of WikiLeaks DNC files shows that they were created on 23, 25, and 26 of May, respectively. The fact that they appear in an FAT system format indicates the data was transferred to a storage device, again, such as a thumb drive. Again. And according to the claims, that the truth lies in the last modified timestamps on the files. Every single one of the timestamps end in even numbers. They said the random probability of this, that FAT was not used, is 1 chance in 2 to the 500th power, or approximately 1 chance in 10 to the 150th power. In other words, an infinitely high order. That's not even talking about the bizarre timeline of DNC and CrowdStrike. Totally weird. And of course, what I always was just blown away by, that the DNC never provided FBI access to the servers. Instead, just trust the group that we've just paid a whole bunch of money to. Just trust them. The point is, it's not just the William Binney guy. And it's not just a single data point. I'd love to see more people trying to debunk that. Give it a whack. Give it a good old heave-ho. Money down says you can't. Old Diaboli's at it again. Why the heck do you figure Trump would not let his men testify under oath if he was so innocent? There's a lot of reasons for that. Number one, because you believe that the process itself is skewed. This happens with people who believe that they are being wrongfully investigated by CPS. And just because you're transparent doesn't mean you're a fool. And as I said on the show, you know, he can make the contention that he doesn't have to, right? That he has privilege. The Supreme Court can say, no, you have to. And in that case, he would have to do it. And if he doesn't, I mean, he could pull, what is that, Andrew Jackson? Right? Say, what are you going to do, coming with your army? That's highly doubtful. But that's the process. Lizzie Meme says, cognitive dissonance is strong with this one. A crystal ball person. Right? Because we got Sister Cleo right here. He strongly opposes conspiracy theories, yet he believes Obama was in a gay relationship fueled by drugs. I don't know if I said I believed that. I said that it was a claim that was made, and there's a video. You can watch it. You also have, there was a lady, I wish I remember her name. I think she's written a book claiming that Hillary Clinton raped her. Believe all women, right? Right. Just not her. That's crazy. Lizzie Meme again, talking about, this is actually a religious topic. Not many, it's kind of weird. Lizzie asked, is the Jesus essence, when talking about transubstantiation, because David asked me, if I believe that the host in the Eucharist, that when the priest confects it, right, the bread and the wine, do I believe that that becomes the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus? And I said, yes. I said, the substance of this, the essence of this, we got into a discussion about essential substance, because I was confused on the colloquial use of substance as opposed to the philosophical use of substance. And so Lizzie asked, is the Jesus essence, is it anything measurable? Can you put it in anything else besides a cracker? They really need to read Aquinas. I mean, Thomism is old. It's been around for a minute. Okay, kind of a prominent figure in the history of philosophy, the history of just the world, in fact. And they really ought to read more about that. But the idea that it's not measurable, you know, Priapus said, essence sounds like something coming from the annals of philosophy. But he admits he has no idea. And that's, again, the problem. Because, yes, it is from the annals of philosophy and theology, but philosophy proper, we can talk about this. And it's really something that's really, really, really old. I mean, Aristotle and stuff, man. Like, we're talking... We're talking origins of this, okay? We're talking it's not like some recent thing that I just made up on the whim. It's not some post hoc explanation. This is like going back a long, long time ago to talk about what essence means. And when people say, well, can you measure that? Can you put it in a test tube kind of thing? You know, I say, well, put your personality in a test tube. You know, or put your concept of a continuation of time into a test tube. Put numbers into a test tube, because you can't do it, right? Put consciousness in a test tube, man. Measure that bad boy up. I bet you $1 million they'll fall back and simply say, well, we believe that science will one day take care of this, and they'll say all the right words, as David said on Rubin Report, atheists have dogmas too, let's debate it. Yes, man, let's debate that. Let's debate those dogmas. You have Flying Reichart. And this is actually a smart one, right? I have to address this. Flying Reichart said that there's a common misperception that presidents can withhold funds. And this changed with the Impoundment Control Act of 1974. And the presidents can only request funds be withheld, but it requires approval from Congress. And Flyen concludes by saying Trump clearly broke the law. Now, here's the thing. Here's where it gets really tricky, okay? Experts told PolitiFact that the aid was eventually released and that this complicates it slightly. Quote, I have every reason to think Trump and his aides violated the statute, said Louis Fisher, visiting professor at William and Mary Law School. He continues by saying, of course, the funds were eventually released. Pfiffner, a George Mason University professor, told PolitiFact, quote, it might be argued that the law would not actually be broken until October 1, the beginning of the 2020 fiscal year. Could be argued that. So it's kind of weird, because it's almost like Reichart isn't an expert. There's only a couple more things. So I'm going to just, I'll get this down. Ted Bunyan. Okay, good old Ted Bunyan. Thought that the guest was Ben Shapiro. Said that I sounded like him. And then went so far as to say that I'm probably just trying to cash in on the whole alt-right movement. I'm clearly a shill, like Dave Rubin. Amigo Montoya, he joined in the whole shill game. Quote, I think Jeremiah is a paid shill. A former atheist who's very well spoken. Perfect candidate for a paid shill. Oh. I mean, come on. You can't win. Look, I have had Protestant people who said that I was raised in a Protestant church, but only because my family supposedly had a pact with Rome, a pact with the Vatican. And there's a video about this called Catholic Conspiracy that I made as a joke about these people who said this. I've had it. I've had Catholic people who believe that I'm a Freemason. And they believe that I'm a secret infiltrator. And there's a group called Sedevacantists who believe the possibility that maybe, just maybe, I became a Sedevacantist so that I could learn about them. And I could get the goods on them. And then leave and make them look bad. And now I got atheists in on this, man. I had people when I was on radio saying that I'm a Russian shill. It never stops. It never ends. And I sound like Ben Shapiro? Are you out of your mind? You're a jerk. And look, the idea of banking on alt-right stuff. I don't think you know what alt-right is. I don't think you do. And I don't think if you knew anything about me and my life, and if you knew what my beliefs are, that you could, in any sane sense, with a clear conscience, right, looking a boy in the eyes, I don't think you could sit there and say, you're alt-right. I'd say you're full of crap. You don't understand my view. You don't understand my associations. You don't understand the alt-right. Claude Sheets said I was brainwashed. There was another person that said that I'm the embodiment of a Trump follower stereotype. And look, this is the kind of thing that upsets me. Like I was saying earlier, I put my time in. I read a whole bunch of books about political science, man. I'm not Travis the trucker listening to Alex Jones on the shortwave. And last of all, I saved the worst part for last. Because, I mean, this part's actually just messed up a little. I mean, it just is. I mean, because these people, they broke out the crystal ball. I mean, they were just full-blown psychic voodoo, trying to be Dionne Warwick and her psychic network. And, of course, it was Amigo Montoya and Diabolus Machina. Back again. The devil machine. They claim that trauma has shut off part of my brain. Almost like I have split brain personality. One even cites a paper. And I wondered, I said, isn't that the guy that called me a paid shill? Like, wouldn't that be risky? And it's kind of weird, man, because this is what gets me, right? Is I actually do have a mental illness. I have been diagnosed bipolar since I was in the Navy in 2002. I was diagnosed bipolar by the Navy itself as well as by a private sector evaluator. And so I had to go. I stayed 2 weeks in this place. I've been evaluated by a lot of different people. And in fact, periodically over time, different levels within the system will come and I have to meet with them and they have to do these tests with me. I've had multiple tests that have been done on my mind. It's how I got through school.
I didn't use the GI Bill. I qualified because I'm categorically talented. Okay? So I'm not a genius. I'm pretty darn close. But I'm not a genius. Right? I'm more socially savvy, I guess, than them. I know how to Velcro my shoes. But the thing is that all these people, psychologists, psychiatrists, doctors, social workers, therapists of all different kinds, in let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4 different states. 4 different states. Consensus. Not one time have they ever said maybe he's got split personality disorder of some kind, split brain personality. Look, I have friends who have PTSD from war zone, man. People who piss their pants while walking around. They go from being perfectly fine to boom, all of a sudden they're zombies. I have friends, military, watch their own fellow soldiers, dude, sinking, blown up, shot through with bullets. They can't sleep at night, man. PTSD. And you jokers are pretending. You're pretenders. And that's actually offensive a little bit. It's offensive. You should do better than that. And every single one of those doctors would say that you're being super unethical. It doesn't take a genius to know this. You don't sit there and evaluate somebody based on a podcast and say, I got a podcast and I checked out this scientific study that was done and I'm putting it together in my brain. It is dumb. So those are the comments from Patreon. Those are the comments from Patreon. You go on to Smalley's show and you ain't even messing around. I mean, these people are ruthless. Ruthless people. Brutal. But the thing is, worth my time. And I hope this has been worth yours. And look, if you enjoy this kind of a thing, I love these interviews. In fact, there's rumor. Little Birdie is whispering in the wind that I might be interviewed again in January. And we might be talking about hierarchy. We might be talking about gender roles, equality of the sexes, feminism, things like this. It should be a whole bunch of fun. If it happens, of course, I can't say one way or another. I can't tell you for sure. But I can tell you that I had a really good time. And so I want to thank David Smalley. I want to thank every single one of the people who commented. And I sincerely hope that people know that this is honestly in good fun. And I sincerely hope that, look, if you disagree with me, let me know. You can comment. You can go ahead and message me at teamtinydancer@gmail.com. Or you can find me on Facebook at jeremiah.bannister. Of course, on Twitter at Paleocrat. I promise we can be friends. Well, I can't promise. I might not like you, and you might not like me. We'll give it a whack, right? Alrighty, that's it. There's nothing else. It's all over. That's all of the comments. For now. I'm confident there will be a lot more, so make sure, share this video. If you'd like to connect with me, you can always find me on paleocratdiaries.com, where we have a members and services page, so you can find out how to connect with me for interviews. They're totally free, believe it or not. I'm not going to make you pay for those. Speeches, on the other hand, it's negotiable. All of that stuff is going to be in the description below. So, until next time, my friends, memento mori.
Love this video? What a coincidence! I do too! Now head on over to paleocratdiaries.com for more videos, blogs, parodies, and reviews, even Team Tiny Dancer stuff. And don't forget to check out our new members and services pages. It's how I pay for my kids to attend Catholic school. Until next time, memento mori.